Hello all, welcome back to another lecture on the world of risk. So let's continue with our series, the anti-money laundering series, and today we have another important topic, the Bank Secrecy Act, USA Patriot Act, and the OFAC. So these are very important topics in respect with interviews or any other competitive exams. So guys, just want to iterate, please subscribe and watch the video till the end. This really helps and motivate me to go ahead and make more videos. So let's directly dive into it. So this will be the contents, the BSA, USA Patriot Act, overview of OFAC, then sanctions, compliance requirements of OFAC, then reporting, then what is the relation between BSA, USA Patriot Act and OFAC, and then we'll end with a case study and the developments. So Bank Secrecy Act. So what is the Bank Secrecy Act? So Bank Secrecy Act was basically enacted in 1970. This act also has another name which is known as Currency and Foreign Transaction Reporting Act or CFTR. So what is this? This is basically a US law which requires financial institutions in the United States to help US government agencies in detecting and preventing money laundering. So as simple as that. It is an act helping US agencies in fighting money laundering. So, and it enables US agencies, government agencies, to go ahead and collect information from financial institutions. So, this act requires financial institutions to keep record of cash transactions or cash purchases, then file reports if daily limit is exceeded within a certain threshold, and to report suspicious activity that involves significant money or say tax evasion or any criminal activities. So the BSA has been amended many times with a significant amendment in 2001 where it was strengthened by the USA Patriot Act. So we'll come back to that. So let's see some of the key provisions of the BSA. So what are the key provisions of the BSA? So pause this slide and go through it because this is really important because they will be asking you this. So customer identification program. So what does this mean? That BSA established where customer's identity and as risk assessment of customer should be done. So this is why BSA is present in the banks, BSA is present in all the financial institutions because and we need the customer identity. So next is the currency transaction reporting. So currency transaction reporting is another requirement by the BSA where financial institutes must report or must file a CTR for any transaction over a specified threshold. So these thresholds are defined for the different like activities. So they need to go ahead and do a currency transaction reporting. Then there is also the SAR or the suspicious activity report. So if there is a suspicious activity regarding any transaction, regarding any account, regarding any activity, so this needs to be reported through a SAR, and we'll cover this SAR in our upcoming lectures because this is also one of the important topics in transaction monitoring. So then we have the currency and monetary instrument reporting or CMIR. So this is kind of similar to the CTR. However, here we need to this is for individual basically where we need to go ahead and report the transaction if it exceeds $10,000 and above. So these are the key provisions of BSA. So pause it and go through it. So compliance requirements and obligations through the BSA. So as we already talked about, financial institutions are covered by the BSA. They need to adhere to the BSA norms and regulations. So again, you can pause the slide and go through all this because this we have already talked about. Then reporting and record keeping is required, like say 5 years is needed. The record should be there for 5 years and for audit purposes or to follow the trail or such kind of things. Then anti-money laundering programs needs to be established in the organizations. A proper training should be done of the employees. Proper staff should be recruited, and strict AML laws should be followed. Then, if these are not done, then there are penalties. Which can range from fines to shutdown to license cancel. So many of the things under the BSA. So these are the compliance requirements and obligations under the BSA. Now we'll talk about another organization. As we already have talked about this, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or the FinCEN. So, what is the role of FinCEN in BSA basically? The FinCEN is a bureau of the US Department of Treasury responsible for administering the BSA. So, this organization, FinCEN, overlooks administration of BSA. This serves as like a agency in the center which collects, analyze, then also processes the information, also goes ahead with the financial intelligence that they have received related to money laundering and other financial crimes. So FinCEN plays a vital role in BSA by providing guidance and oversight to financial institutions. So it also collaborates with all the law enforcement agencies and imposes penalties. The things we saw in the previous slide, the FinCEN goes ahead and like imposes penalties. So these are some of the key factors of the BSA. Now let's see the second important act, that is known as the USA Patriot Act. So let's go. So USA Patriot Act. What does the term means? So USA Patriot Act stands for Uniting and Strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism. USA Patriot. So this is the full form of USA Patriot Act. This act, from where did this act come from? As you know, the tragic events of September 2011, where this there was an attack on the US, and then after that, the Patriot Act was swiftly enacted by the government. So this basically gave power. So as you can see that George Bush on October 26, 2001 enacted this act. So what did this act do? This act gave US law enforcement agencies the necessary control or necessary power to go ahead and combat terror related activities. So it could go ahead and monitor compliance, it could go ahead and impose stricter rules, it could go ahead and do surveillance of these institutions, or it could go ahead and do take information from these financial institutions and then use it to fight terror terror activities. So this was basically in response to the terror activities, and it also strengthened the BSA, Bank Secrecy Act, where any suspicious transaction or activities needed to be reported. So this is the USA Patriot Act. Now the key provisions of USA Patriot Act. What did this do? So enhanced surveillance and intelligence gathering. So as I mentioned, this enabled the law enforcement agencies to conduct surveillance and intelligence uh, and on suspected terrorists and their associates. Like this included the ability to access personal and business records, conduct wiretap, and engage in other forms of electronic surveillance. So this could also be done. Previously, this information from the financial point of view were missing. Then expansion of law enforcement powers. So as you can see, we talked about this already. This allowed this law enforcement agencies to have certain more powers over these financial institutions or the information gathering capacity. Then we had financial institution compliance required, where financial institutions need to conduct customer due diligence, report suspicious activities, and then these were provided to the law enforcement agencies. Now we had information sharing. So USA Patriot Act encouraged information sharing between law agencies, both domestic and international. So all the law agencies across the world could go ahead and share information on the potential criminals or potential fraud. So this helped in increasing the network. So impact of the US Act. So there were changes in privacy and civil liberties where kind of law enforcement were given more power. So this helped in effective combat terrorism, like they used to get information from other organizations, from other places, and they also used to share information. So effective network was established to fight the uh, terrorism. Now we have another important administrative office, or say we have the OFAC, or Office of the Foreign Asset Control. So what does OFAC does basically, or what is OFAC? OFAC is an financial intelligence and enforcement agency, which is a part of the US Treasury. So this was established in December 1950. So what does kind of OFAC do? What its primary role is to administer and enforce economic and trade sanctions based on US foreign policies and national security goals. So what does this mean basically? So if there are any security threats to the US, or if the US goes ahead and identify any security threats against any individual country or any section, so it can go ahead and enf enforce sanctions. Now, what are sanctions? Sanctions are basically like bans or restrictions that are enforced. So we will also talk about the sanctions when we come to the sanction screening, or say transaction monitoring, or say KYC. So we'll talk in details. Now OFAC has their lists of sanctions, which is cross-checked while doing due diligence. And many countries, many individuals, etc., are part of the OFAC list, which needs to be cross-checked when doing due diligence. So jurisdiction and scope of OFAC, basically. OFAC jurisdiction extends to all US personnel and entities, including individuals, corporation, and financial institutions. It also has extraterritorial reach, impacting foreign individuals, business, financial institutions, etc., when engaging in transactions involving in US assets or business in the US. So what does this mean? That not only OFAC has extends over USA and their citizens, but also it has reach to foreign individuals who have some kind of relation with the USA. So they can go ahead and impose sanctions on them also. Now let's see OFAC sanction programs. So we have restrictions or bans by the OFAC in we'll just talk about few here. Like we have economic sanctions, where economic activities are banned or restricted by the Office of the Foreign Asset Control. So this is one kind of sanction. Then we have another is targeted foreign individuals and entities. That means if any individual is a threat or identified as a threat by the US Treasury or the US government, then OFAC can go ahead and put a sanction on that particular individual or that particular entity. So then we have the SDN list. This is similar, like if specially designated nationals. So if any individual or entity is subject to US sanctions, then they are in that list and we need to cross verify. So OFAC list is basically checked across the world to identify any threats, because as we know, Patriot Act and the US BSA Act enables information sharing with all the international bodies or the law agencies. So these are something related to the OFAC. Now let's see the compliance the needed. So the illicit activities needs to transaction and activities needs to be monitored. Then new technologies and advancements should be incorporated as per the OFAC rules. Then screening and monitoring is required. Strength means this strengthens the BSA Patriot Act, and basically the OFAC lists can be updated. International regulatory harmony, that means information sharing should be easy within this. Now let's come back to one more thing. So basically the BSA, let's talk about that in the last. So OFAC also has penalties and for violations like non-compliance with OFAC regulations can result in severe penalties, including civil and criminal offenses and imprisonment. Then fines can be there, criminal fines, then imprisonment and loss of business license, as we also talked earlier. So reporting of under OFAC, we also need to report blocked assets and transactions. When a US personnel or entity discovers blocked assets or engage in a transaction that is blocked by OFAC, they are required to be reported. So say sanctions are placed on one country, but a person wants to go ahead and do business or get transactions or transfer money, buy assets, anything from that country. So these kind of transactions needs to be reported immediately. Then we already talked about the penalties. Then we need proper due diligence. There is like from where the fund is coming, is the person in the OFAC list or not. So these kind of things are enabled in the BSA, OFAC, and as well as US Patriot Act. Now, what is the relation between US BSA, US Patriot Act, and the OFAC? So, from the conversation till now, you have already come ahead and understood what are the relations. Now, we'll talk about like five pillars basically within this, what these three things have brought into the AML fight. So the first pillar would be designation of a compliance officer. So all these acts and the offices, the FinCEN, the OFAC, BSA, and the USA Patriot Act has helped in these five pillars. The first is designation of a compliance officer, then development of internal policies, procedures, and control. Then third pillar would be relevant training of employees and ongoing training. The fourth pillar will be independent testing and review. And the fifth pillar would be customer due diligence. So remember, these are the five pillars of compliance that has come through the coordination of BSA, US Patriot Act, OFAC, FinCEN. All these have brought into these five pillars. So you can pause the video and go ahead and look at the writings in the slide. So these are same things like within those five pillars it is covered. Then challenges and limitations. So one of the biggest challenges is like implementation of the USA Patriot Act and the like BSA across jurisdictions. So this is one of the most important challenges. The second would be you can say like financial institutions or clients find it difficult to go ahead and answer all the requirements that is needed within the this acts, and sometimes it leads to loss in banking relationships. Then also misuse of data is another challenge. Then customer privacy, ensuring that customers privacy is maintained, so this is another challenge. So these are few of the challenges that needs to be addressed. Now let's see how BSA, Patriot Act, and OFAC basically helped in catching the money laundering or terror financing. So, so the combined efforts of BSA, Patriot Act, and OFAC have led to notable success in prevention of financial crimes. This is one instance. In March 2021, OFAC sanctioned a network of smugglers and sanctions evaders who were involved in shipping Iranian oil to Syria in breach of US sanctions. The investigation was successful due to cooperation between OFAC, the Department of Justice, and Department of State. So, as you know, like there was information sharing between all these entities, and also financial institutions reported thus from where these funds were originating. There was suspicion like why the funds were moving so fast. So hence in March 2021, an entire network of smugglers were uh, identified, and they were caught basically. So this is how BSA, USA Patriot, and OFAC came into existence, and these three helped in catching one of the networks. So you can use this as an example in any of your interviews or anything. So thank you guys. That's it for today. Like this is a long video because I wanted to explain these things because these are important. So please keep subscribing, like and share the video and watch till the end. This is very important. And in our next topic, we might take a break from the AML and go with something new, or we will continue with the AML series and see what lies ahead. So keep watching. Thank you so much.